is an historic day in this region and in our Commonwealth, and really for the East Coast of the United States. We are very pleased that we have Governor Northam with us today, Mr. Jim Foote, the President and CEO of CSX, Mr. Stephen Gardner, a Vice President at Amtrak, and Katie Crystal, who wears many hats in this region and today is representing the VRE Board of Directors. Thank you so much for all of you being here. We also have from CSX, Mr. Jamie Boychuk, a prime seat and well-deserved, I will say, Executive Vice President of Operations at CSX, Randy Marcus, Regional Vice President for Virginia. Thank you so much for being here. And I also know that Tammy's here, Tammy Butler, Brian Tucker. Thank you. It was really wonderful for you to come. From Amtrak, we also have Bruno Maestri, VP of Government Affairs. From VRE, I don't know if Sharon Bulov is here, but she is one of the founding members of VRE. Just want to acknowledge that. Are you here by any chance? Just a really, really important day, and I just thank her for her leadership over many years. Richard Dalton, the acting CEO of VRE, Mark Schofield, Matt Kelly, Preston Banks, Gary Skinner, and a number of folks from your team. Thank you so much for being here. JBG, Andy Van Horn and Jay Corbalis, thank you for hosting us in this wonderful space. We have representatives from Senator Kane's office, Representative Whitman's office, Congressman Conley's office, Congressman Byers' office, USDOT, Michael Russo representing USDOT, Secretary Chow, and Noah Simon, thank you so much for being here. We have representatives from the Arlington County, City of Alexandria, City of Manassas Park, City of Fredericksburg, MVTC, Kate Mattice, MVTA, Marty Noe, I hear you are in the room. Marty, love to make announcements when you're here. Monica Bachman, I don't know if Monica's here. Of course. I saw Paul Smedberg, our chairman of Metro. Thank you so much for running from the other event as well. Steve Powell from the Buckingham Branch Railroad. Thank you so much for coming to be with us. We have the Greater Washington Partnership, Jason Miller, Joe McAndrew, Virginians for High-Speed Mail, High-Speed Rail, Danny Blogger. I did see Danny earlier. There you are, Danny. Thank you for being here. Virginia Rail Policy Institute. I don't know if Meredith Richards here, but I do hear that Dick Beatles is in the house. There you are. It's great to see you. It's been a long time. There are CTV members. We have Scott Kaschwitz, Mary Hines. Thank you for being here. From DC DOT, Anna Chamberlain, thank you for coming to be with us. We also thank from FRA, Administrator Battori and his team, Paul Missenbaum, Jamie Rennert, Randy Brown, and all those who've helped us to get this program to this place. Among my team, and I always tell our governor, we have the best team in government. Deputy Secretary Nick Donahue, Deputy Secretary John Lawson. We have DRPT Director Jennifer Mitchell, Chief of Rail, there you are, Mike McLaughlin. I will say at the conclusion of this program, we will be having some handouts. We have maps in the back. And these four individuals, Nick, John, Jennifer, and Mike, will be in the back to help answer questions. We've tried to color code it, but even as Jamie and I can tell you, you really have to read the map. So they'll be back, in the back to answer questions. And of course, the entire team from DRPT and Helen Cuervo from VDOT, Todd Horsley, who provided rides this afternoon, Corey Hill, who's been a very loyal consultant with us, and our legal team, Michael Westerman and John O'Neill. I know that there are probably others that I haven't thanked, but I just really appreciate all of you for being here, all of our distinguished guests, for coming to an event that presents such an unprecedented opportunity to transform rail and to expand our vision of transportation. To make this announcement, we have very special leaders The first of whom is a man who approaches public service with the same passion that he brought to his military and medical career. He is committed to working with leaders from both parties to build a Virginia that works for every family, no matter who they are or where they're from. I often say that the more I am able to work with this governor, the more I admire his courage. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the 73rd governor of our Commonwealth. He's grabbing his notes. Ralph S. Northam.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you. Good afternoon, and please be seated. Shannon, thank you so much for your words. And I was just sitting back here with Jim, just listening. If there's anybody in the audience that hasn't been recognized or introduced, please stand up.
Governor, it's not too late.
No,
That's what I would say.
but it's just thanks to all of you. As you can understand when you listen to who all's been involved, this takes a tremendous team to put something like this together. And what an exciting day this is, not only for the Commonwealth of Virginia, but also for the greater Washington area. This is literally going to transform this area. And I wanted to take the opportunity to give thanks to Shannon Valentine, our Secretary of Transportation, and her team. And I think if you travel around Virginia now, no matter where you are, whether it be the Southwest, the South Side, Hampton Roads, which is where I'm from, or here in Northern Virginia, you see a lot of road projects. You see a lot of transportation projects that are going on, and that's because of your leadership. So thank you to you and your team for a job well done. We have had a lot of good announcements in Virginia over the last year, and two that I'll reference. The first is when Amazon, and I know we have representatives from Amazon with us today, when they chose to make Virginia their second home. It was certainly one of my proudest days as governor. Another day was when I was called to our Shenandoah River State Park to have the announcement that CNBC had named Virginia as the best state in which to do business. And that didn't happen in a vacuum. And one of the reasons that Virginia was chosen was because we invest in transportation and infrastructure, and we need to continue to do that to keep our economy strong. And I think it's clear our announcement today is certainly regarding rail, but I think most of you that certainly are in the Northern Virginia area would agree that we cannot pave our way out of congestion. So we need to look at and emphasize other modes of transportation. So we're here today for a landmark announcement with CSX Railroad that is going to literally transform our rail system so that we can move people forward and move goods up and down our East Coast. We have agreed to a $3.7 billion public-private investment that includes construction of a new Virginia-owned long bridge across the Potomac River dedicated exclusively to passenger rail, acquisition of 360 miles of railroad right-of-way and 225 miles of track, and 37 miles of new track improvements, including a Franconia-Springfield bypass. By reducing congestion on our rails, we can get more freight and more passengers moving through Virginia and beyond. Every train that comes up from the southeast or down from the northeast, passenger, commuter, or freight train has to cross the Potomac on the Long Bridge. But that bridge, which dates back to 1904, is just 2 tracks wide. 2 tracks for every train that runs along the East Coast. At peak times, the bridge is 98% capacity. It is a choke point that creates congestion for passenger rail and freight alike. This agreement fixes this issue by building a new bridge just for passenger and commuter rail. This will relieve the bottleneck, add capacity, and end the competition between passenger trains and freight trains. By acquiring new miles of track or of railroad right-of-way and making track improvements, we will reduce conflicts in rail operations and create a way to separate passenger and freight lines from Richmond to D.C. No longer will you sit on an Amtrak or VRE train stopped somewhere between Fredericksburg and D.C. waiting for a freight train with priority to go by. Separating the passenger and freight lines means both types of trains can move faster, and we can have more of them. It will be easier than ever to commute to D.C. by VRE or take Amtrak to New York for the weekend, and freight being hauled from the Port of Virginia can get to its destination more easily. Over the next 10 years, this agreement will double the number of Virginia Amtrak trains. It will extend round-trip Amtrak service to Hampton Roads, now referred to as 757, by the way. It will provide nearly hourly Amtrak service between D.C. and Richmond, and it will increase VRE service along I-95 by 75% with more frequent trains and weekend service. This deal is not just about how we use the rail lines we have today, but how we can potentially expand our rail service for tomorrow. So this agreement preserves a route for future east-west passenger service between Doswell and Clifton Forge going through Charlottesville and Stanton. It also lays a foundation for a future high-speed rail in the southeast by acquiring the abandoned S-line that runs from Petersburg into North Carolina. I mentioned that this is a $3.7 billion investment in our rail system. We're bringing together federal, state, and regional partners to help pay for this. Amtrak will play a critical role, and we also have the opportunity to bring additional partners to the table. This is an opportunity to relieve congestion, both on the rails and on our roads. Use of our roads, particularly our interstates, is continuously on the rise. Across Virginia, travelers currently experience 230 million hours of delay on the roads, resulting in $6.5 billion in annual congestion cost. Yet, if we added another lane in each direction of I-95 for 50 miles, it will cost us $12.5 billion. And the road would still be congested at rush hour. So the improvements planned through this agreement could remove 5 million cars and 1 million trucks from the road each year. That will not only help passenger rail, it will encourage economic development and expand freight traffic. We also know that our ports has a goal of moving 40% of containers inland by rail. This will help. Our statewide rail industry already supports more than 340,000 jobs and fuels $1.9 billion in sales tax revenue a year. And it saves us $123 million a year that we would be spending on highway maintenance. So we expect that growth in passenger, commuter, and freight rail service would expand our economy here in Virginia by $2 billion a year. Fixing the Long Bridge bottleneck will open up economic growth in the D.C. metro region, and improving our rail connectivity between the Northeast and the Southeast will help interstate commerce. I want to recognize our partners at CSX, Amtrak, and VRE for all of their work to make this agreement happen. And I want to also, again, thank Secretary Valentine and her team for their leadership on this project. We can move more freight, and we can move it faster. We can get more people using passenger rail off our roads. This is once-in-a-generation opportunity to make our rail system work better for everyone, both in Virginia and along the entire East Coast. I'm proud to be part of it, and I look forward to working with all of you to make this happen and to take advantage of all the future opportunities we're creating through this agreement here today. Again, as I tell people as I travel across Virginia, it takes a team, it takes a village, and I just really thank all of you for being part of that village. And I would be remiss before I turn the podium and mic over that I didn't, if I, on behalf of Pam and me and the Commonwealth of Virginia, I wish all of you a safe, happy, and relaxing holiday season. I know we have some legislators with us today. Delegate Levine, I see you waving, and I appreciate you being here. But my point is that I want you to get some rest, along with your other legislators over the holidays, because we have a lot of important and great work that we're going to continue to do in Virginia in 2020. So thank you all so much for being here today, and happy holidays.
Okay, I know Delegate Levine, welcome. So glad you're here. I might be doing this throughout. Our next speaker began his railroad career at the age of 18 at the Sioux Line Railroad in Wisconsin, and over the next 40 years had diverse railroad experience in operations, marketing, and finance. Since being named CEO of CSX in December of 2017, Mr. Foote has led CSX's scheduled railroading transformation that has produced record operating and financial results. Mr. Foote, I just want to say to you, what an amazing team you have put together. I've really had the privilege of working with Jamie Boychuk and all the men and women at CSX, and I really thank you for the opportunity. Please help me welcome Mr. Jim Foote to the podium.
Well, it's really great to be here today. Governor, it is fantastic to be here. Wow, you know, we are spread across the entire eastern half of the United States. We're the largest freight railroad in the eastern half of the United States. And I get around to a lot of places. And nowhere do I sense the vibe, the excitement, the enthusiasm that I feel here today. Clearly, Virginia and you are on the right track, and soon to be on the right bridge for a phenomenal success. And I couldn't be prouder of the team and the company to be involved in this initiative. Creating the new corridor is going to, number one, improve the safety of the operation for the freight company and the passenger operations on the line. It's going to increase the speed of the network, taking out all of the bottlenecks along the way, and increase capacity for much needed new passenger service to serve your exploding population based upon your strong business presence here. So on behalf of the 700 plus people just in CSX employees in Virginia, as well as the 21,000 spread across the eastern half of the U.S., we're excited about the opportunity to work with you. And I especially like to comment about trying to get the trucks off the Secretary Valentine, it's been a real pleasure to meet you and the members of your team. And I think we can work together maybe to find some new and creative opportunities elsewhere that would be beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With this agreement between the Commonwealth of Virginia and CSX in place, partners willing to stand side by side with us are also very important. which is why Stephen Gardner from Amtrak is here today. Stephen Gardner is Senior Executive Vice President and Chief Operating and Commercial Officer at Amtrak, serving in this position since May of 2019. In this role, Stephen provides day-to-day operational leadership for Amtrak with responsibility for operations, safety, marketing and revenue, strategy and planning, information technology, product development and customer experience, government affairs, and corporate communications. Stephen Gardner is a company unto himself. I really want to express my appreciation to Stephen, to the CEO of Amtrak, Richard Anderson, and your board for your true focus on collaboration, on service, and the future of intercity passenger rail. Please help me welcome Stephen Gardner.
Thank you for that charitable introduction. It's a great pleasure to be here. On behalf of our CEO, Richard Anderson, and our board of directors, we really, I can't undersell how exciting this is. I had the pleasure of working on some of the early planning efforts for what eventually maybe has come to be this in 1999. We've been working on this for about 20 years. And let me just say that the Commonwealth, under the leadership of the governor and the secretary, they have established the right model and shown the leadership necessary in this nation to provide the kind of mobility and convenience and economic development that's required for the future. I mean, this is a model of what needs to happen across America. Rail has a much bigger role to play, passenger rail and freight rail, and I really do also want to recognize Jim and the leadership at CSX for thinking about how we can create the kind of capacity and performance that's necessary so that our mode can do more for the nation. We've added 120 million people to America since Amtrak was formed in 1971. We're going to add another 100 million between now and 2050, right? The interstate network, by 2040, FHWA says it's going to be 3 times more congested. The vast majority of Americans are now living in the major mega regions of the United States, all over the United States, in the major metros and the corridors that connect them. What Virginia is doing today, together with CSX, is creating the kind of capacity that's going to allow the Commonwealth to continue its record of smart, sustainable growth and enhanced mobility for its citizens. For Amtrak, first and foremost, our job is to create sustainable intercity trips, alternatives to driving, alternatives to flying. It's really pretty simple how we do that. We need to create a trip time competitive service, it needs to be reliable, it needs to be frequent. And this program is going to deliver on all 3 of those. It's an incredible achievement. We're going to invest about $950 million in this partnership to make sure that these things are delivered over time. And we're anxious to do more. This is just the beginning of what we think America needs, and what rail can do in the future. Just to the north is the Northeast Corridor, 2,200 trains a day, 270 million trips a year. Roughly 1/3 of all the domestic enplanements in America, that's what the Northeast Corridor delivers in a year. 750, 800,000 trips a day. In Virginia, we've got roughly 20 trains a day. We're going to be able to expand that and effectively extend the Northeast Corridor to Richmond and to other parts of the Commonwealth. Through future fleet investments that we're working on right now together with the Commonwealth, we're going to be introducing new types of equipment that will be able to traverse this territory reliably, quickly, with better passenger experience, and eliminate some of the engine changes that have to happen in Washington today and shrink effectively the distance between Norfolk, Richmond, Lynchburg, Roanoke, and the Northeast. So we're incredibly excited. We're anxious to do more. Our deep appreciation goes out to the governor, to the secretary, to Jim, and CSX. And I would say all these things about any state and any program like this, but as a native Arlingtonian, I'm particularly excited to be here. So thanks so much for your support. We have a lot more work to do to bring this great vision to fruition, but we are confident in the wisdom of these investments and how much more we can all do to make the Commonwealth, the Northeast, and America a better place to live, a better place to work, and a place that's got a bright future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I do see Sharon Bulova. I don't know if I missed you earlier, but I'm so glad that you're here as a founding member. And Bill Siddell in the back, thank you for being here. In the office of Kathleen Murphy, we really do appreciate you. Oh, Senator Favola, thank you for being here. Were you here earlier? Did I completely overlook this? I overlooked an entire row. But we're so glad you're here. Thank you. Today's final speaker brings such clarity and energy to public service. Ms. Katie Crystal is, and there are many titles, I have to write this down because it's amazing, Chair of the Operations Board of VRE, a member of the Arlington County Board since 2015, Vice Chair of the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission, the Arlington Representative on the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority, and as she serves on the Human Services Policy Committee of the Washington Council of Governments. Through all of her roles and positions, Katie has always been committed to making life better for the citizens of our Commonwealth, and she tries to do it collaboratively and together with all of us. Please help me welcome Katie Crystal.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd be remiss if I didn't also say welcome to Arlington County. Thank you so much for the opportunity to celebrate today's announcement and for the leadership of this administration, the governor and Secretary Valentine and Director Mitchell of DRPT in particular, in achieving this extraordinary milestone. And I want to say that it's an honor to speak on behalf of my colleagues on the Operations Board. So many are here today, as Secretary Valentine noted. Preston Banks of the City of Manassas Park, Gary Skinner of Spotsylvania, Marty Noe of Prince William County, Matt Kelly of Fredericksburg. I know Elizabeth Bennett Parker of Alexandria joined us, and of course, Chairman Bulova from Fairfax County. And just in hearing that representation, I think you get a sense of how many Northern Virginians are represented by the Virginia Railway Express. And today's announcement represents the start of an exciting new chapter for them, for commuter rail in Virginia. Expansion of the Long Bridge is going to enable us to grow VRE service, to include new riders, new hours, new weekend service, in short, to improve the quality of life and economic opportunity for tens of thousands more Virginians. With the Commonwealth now in a position to own and manage the major related rail assets, that vision is truly within reach. And as VRE Chair, I want to emphasize what this project means for those represented by those of us on the Operations Board. Expanded hours represent an opportunity for a Manassas Park resident to now take advantage of a workforce training program in the evenings at Amazon's HQ2 in Crystal City or the new Virginia Tech campus in Alexandria. Weekend service represents a family in Spotsylvania that can now take their kids into the Air and Space Museum without grinding it out in 3 hours of Saturday traffic on the 95 corridor. And by addressing the congestion of passenger and freight rail, this project will deliver improved reliability and on-time performance for all our riders, the future, but also the current. The Virginia Railway Express is so proud and excited to be a partner in this new vision for a more connected region and a more connected Commonwealth, and most importantly, a better quality of life for the people who live here. Thank you again.
A Okay, did I forget anybody? Governor Northam and Mr. Foote from CSX have announced an agreement that gives us all the opportunity to transform rail and expand our vision of our multimodal transportation network within this region, across our Commonwealth, and as the vital connection between the Northeast and the Southeast quarters of the United States. As we recognize this foundational agreement, we also understand the importance of partnerships with Amtrak and with VRE, and our continued collaboration with the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority, the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission, and DCDOT, who has led the Long Bridge environmental study for 3 years, with whom we have worked closely and without whom we would not be here today. In the coming months, we will be working towards the conclusion of the definitive agreements, which we hope to execute in the second half of 2020. Well, I should say, we plan to execute in early second half of 2020 as we continue building partnerships and expanding partnerships to transform freight, passenger, and commuter rail throughout our Commonwealth. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the very first Virginia-sponsored train that was anchored in Lynchburg, Virginia. With Governor Kane at the time, Delegate Toscano, I worked very hard to bring that service. It was an investment of $17.5 million for 3 years. But there was no greater advocate or champion of that rail service than a gentleman named Elliott Schul. And some of you may remember him in this room, a former state senator, a legend in Central Virginia. Last night, I learned that he died. He and his late wife, Roselle, who lived life wholeheartedly, would not believe the incredible opportunity that we have before us. In that spirit, I thank all of you. I thank all of you who have helped make today possible. And I, like Governor Northam, wish you a joyful and peaceful holiday season. As I mentioned in the very beginning, we're going to have Director Mitchell, Deputy Secretary Donahue, Deputy Secretary John Lawson, and our Chief of Rail, who continues to disappear on me, in the back of the room to explain maps and to pass out handouts. And I just thank you once again for being here.